hello. We're digging a little hole. A latrine hole. So when you go to a latrine, it all goes in here. This is the best tool to use because it just it's shortened, so it fits in the hole, and it's angled so you can kind of get a good run up at all the sides of the hole. And you then use it to pick up the dirt and put it in the peasant's bucket. Here we go. Oh, you're looking great.
Well, this is our meter stick, well, close about. Our hole has to be 1.8 meters down and 1 meter in width. So we measure the width of the hole with this just to be able to turn it in every direction, all the way down.
So as you can tell, this is not the kind of thing that I'm cut out for, but it is great to be able to help people.
Now you collapse in the hole, Stephen.
Oh. This is a concrete slab, and the metal pieces around the edge, they're the formers, and all they do is they put the formers on a fairly flat piece of ground, and I do stress fairly flat, with a piece of plastic underneath to stop the dirt sticking to it, and pour concrete in the middle and just screed it off, and then the concrete's left for a few more days to harden, and then it's all ready to stand up on the slab for your toilet walls and roof.
Today Gordon taught me how to plaster. So I helped with plastering around the edges of the toilet.
They made it 4 sides of the precast, with the back and the 2 sides and the doors part of it, and there's 3 slabs across the top to make the roof. There are 3 steel struts that come through here, and they lock together with each of the side panels, and then they plaster over the top of all that. Then the door hangs on these 2 hinges. Haven't made the door yet. This is the base of the unit, but the floor is over there. It's got a porcelain shaped unit in there that fits in, and it holds water so that no odours can come through.
And then that's plastered in place. So, job done, finished toilet, all ready to do the business.
These are the water tanks they make for the villages. They make them in rings, and we stack the rings on top of each other, and then they cement them and cement all the edges and to make them watertight. So the water will come from the roof. They do pretty good for this country, and it's hot. It's really hot, and they need the water. And what I've seen coming out of the ground when they drink, there's no way we'd drink it. They're so dirty.
This is fun, and this is an extension to our program. We've finished our 4 toilets, and we've now started an extra one. So we're laying out the walls behind us here, and just over there we're going to be putting in the foundations for the next toilet.
This is Sockley and Mao, and their latrine has just been finished. They've made a lovely green door to go on the front. They've got 2 small children, 4 and 6, and they are incredibly grateful for their latrine. They know that it will keep their family safe. They said it will stop their children getting sick, and they are very, very happy and very grateful to Papsda for being a part of this process of helping them to have a safer environment for their family.
I've just done a cooking demonstration with these Cambodian people and shown them some great healthy dishes for my cafes back in New Zealand. I've shown them a great stir fry and using an ingredient that they would never use in a savoury dish, and that is beans. They believe beans to be something you only put in sweet dishes, but it's such a great, inexpensive and awesome protein they can use. So I've tried to show them how they can use it in stir fry. Also shown them a great delicious Greek salad and helped to show them they can use fresh food with a nice simple dressing and show them some great healthy dishes that they can share with their children. Also they use MSG in their cooking quite intensively, so I've tried to tell them it's a poison, not being good for their children at all. So it's a lot of fun. I think they've picked up some tricks, especially asked them to use lots of different colours so their food looks beautiful for their family as well. So I hope they've enjoyed it.
The purpose of this trip is to assess the needs in the community and see whether a Papsda can help on a long-term basis. So basically we're here in the village and we've been working on the assessment team for the last 3 days. We've been working with the villagers in 2 separate groups, helping them to assess the needs that they have for their village. Listening to their needs, most of their needs are very basic. They want toilets so that they can have clean sanitary conditions in their homes. They want wells so that they have something to flush the toilet with and so that they can do their laundry and clean their bodies. Today basically what we're doing is we've taken their 4 biggest needs and we're pinpointing what has caused those needs, what is the root problem to them, and what are the benefits. If we were to put more toilets in this village or build a canal or a kindergarten, how would that actually benefit? We have found that sometimes dreaming big, like we ask them to dream big dreams for their community, big dreams for their village, and that's sometimes hard to do when they are focused on the lack of water and the lack of toilets and the lack of transport. Many of the village here, they have to walk, and if you've seen any footage of our travels in here, it's a long van ride, so imagine a walk to get to the markets or to get out to the villages. So the basic things that they want would change their lives hugely. And maybe then, if they had those basic needs like toilets and clean water met, they would be able to dream a little bit. So it has been eye-opening. Tomorrow, which is our final day of the assessment team, we're going to be meeting with the governor and the village councillors and discussing with them what we found and looking at whether or not there are ways to make these things happen. And I definitely see that our help here could be needed for many years to come to really get this village going and sustainable.
I've been working with the team who've been looking after the children while we've been over in Cambodia.
It's been really fantastic working with the children. It's just so amazing to see the joy on their faces as they learn about washing their hands, cleaning their teeth.
What we've noticed is that when we first started, the kids might have known how to hold a crayon, but many did not know how to hold scissors. So they've now can colour in and cut out with scissors. Then we gave them the toys that have been sent over and their eyes just bulged out.
The ball games they've absolutely loved. They thoroughly enjoyed it when they played a game of tunnel ball with the New Zealanders as one team and they raced us.
Most of them did not know what to do, even with if just putting pieces into a jigsaw.
Puzzles and games have been fantastic. The kids have learnt so much.
Now they come clambering for them, they're playing with blocks, they're doing all sorts of games, and we can't keep them away.
It's just amazing to work with these children. It's just been an awesome experience.
So this morning, children, I want you to remember to always brush your teeth, wash yourself so that you stay healthy and strong.
Good, now head and shoulders.
Hello. You're probably wondering what happens when you go on one of these trips. So I've been asked to share with you what happens in the typical day on a mission trip in Cambodia. Well, it starts in the morning. We get up at around about 6 a.m. for breakfast, and we stayed in this beautiful hotel in Pusat, which is in the middle of Cambodia. It was quite embarrassing staying here almost, but they actually had a special for $20 a night. So we stayed in this very posh hotel, which is a very big contrast to what we were doing during the day. So we'd get up, have breakfast at 6 a.m, we'd meet in the lobby at 7 a.m, and we'd have a bit of a get-together and a prayer and a briefing on the day. Then we'd hop in the vans, squash into the vans. We had 2 minivans that we shared, and we drove around about 45 minutes to the village we were staying at. And well, that was an experience in itself, looking at all the different traffic. The road rules are terrible. I think we drove on the right-hand side of the road. We were there most of the time. And then we'd see lots of the village atmosphere, all the markets and things on the way, so that was quite interesting. And we'd arrive at the village around about 8:30, and then we'd split up into our 3 different teams. So I was in the construction team, so we'd head off and we'd do whatever project was on for the day. And it was actually probably of all the mission trips I've been on, one of the easiest in terms of building, because all the locals were coming in and pitching in and helping. There were more people than work, so it was excellent to see that they were actually taking on and being a part of it. The village we were at was probably about 1 kilometre long down this long road, and the areas we were working in was probably about a couple of 100 metres apart, so everything we were doing was very, very close to each other. So I was in the building team. The kids team head off and they'd set up their big mat, and the kids would come along and they'd do the activities with them. And then the assessment team would head off and they'd meet with all the people that they were meeting with that morning or afternoon and find out what their needs were to write the report. Now, it was very hot. It was around about 35 degrees or more most days in the shade. And I think we had some 32-degree days, and it was just really, really cool. So it was very hot. So we had lunch at about 11 a.m, and the hotel pre-packed a lunch for us. And then we discovered that Cambodians actually have a 2-hour lunch break, which was fantastic. And basically, they both go to sleep during that 2 hours. Because it's so hot, the heat of the day became a nap time. So that was quite an exciting thing to experience. So after lunch in the afternoon, when it kind of started cooling down a bit, not really, we'd head back to our various duties. And then about 4 o'clock, the vans would come and would pick us up and would take us back home along the same roads. And often we'd stop off at the markets and perhaps get some fruit or something like that on the way home. Then when we get back to the hotel, have a bit of a free time. There's actually a big pool at the hotel as well, so we could actually get a bit of cooling into our bodies, which was great. And then we'd meet at 6 p.m. for dinner. And we had this big air-conditioned room with 2 large tables, and we'd have dinner together. Then at 8 o'clock we'd have a worship, and yeah, really mulled upon some of the words of Jesus talking about how to help people, and it was quite inspiring to some of the excellent worships we had. And then we'd go to bed, tired out from our long day in the heat, and then we'd start the next day. And that's a typical day of a mission trip in Cambodia. I also did some cooking demonstrations, as you saw in the video, and that was quite interesting, going down to the local markets and finding the food and negotiating with the various fruit sellers who couldn't understand English. Interesting food practices. Basically, I was demonstrating on someone's bed. They have these slat kind of table things that they use for everything. They use them for bedding, they use them for eating off, doing their jobs, sitting around. So I was demonstrating on a bed. There were dogs running around underneath the table. The water we're using was from the well was very, very murky. And everyone sits on the tables while they're prepping as well and just has a chat. So very interesting food practices, but no one got sick, which was good. Demonstrated on open stoves, which I've never done before. And with the stove, basically what you do, you put the charcoal in. If you want to turn the stove up, you add more charcoal. If you want to turn the stove down, you take the charcoal out. Works quite well. And if you want to keep a pot warm, you just basically pull some charcoal out, put it on the ground, take the pot off, put it on the charcoal, and it stays warm. So it works very, very well. Not quite going to get one installed in my home, but it worked really well. And yeah, just in terms of some of the things I was trying to teach them was, you know, varying their cooking, getting lots of fresh vegetables. So I showed them how to make a Greek salad with lots of cucumber and tomato and lettuce and things. Although the children didn't like the tomato, and I was quite horrified when they got their tomato and basically put it on the ground. But fortunately, there's one kid who did like it. He went around and basically asked all the other kids for their tomato, which worked out quite well for him. And I showed them how to make a stir fry with beans, and they've got a lot of beans that are available there, but they think beans are for sweets. So encouraging them to use some great protein sources with beans and legumes that they can use, which will give them a lot more protein, and they can stop using some of the very token amounts of meat that they use. So that was my demonstration. So that's a day in the life of Cambodia, and sharing with you some of the demonstrations I did. Over to David.
In the WASH project, that's the Water and Sanitation project, ADRA involves the community in both the construction, the development and the ongoing management of the program. This 3-year project we were initiating involves the funding from both New Zealand and the Norwegian governments, and ADRA matches their funding to create the program. So we provided funding for 25 latrines and water tanks. We went there to install 4 latrines and 2 water tanks. In fact, the teams divided into 2, and with each team we had an expert that had been brought in from a WASH program in another district. So they were there to train the locals on how to do it, and we were there to provide some encouragement and some enthusiasm. Also, with each team was a local person who was learning how to construct the latrines, and they were going to take over and continue the project after we had gone. And so in the picture that you have there, the gentleman who was there is the person who's taking over and will oversee the project from now on. He only has one eye, but he's a very skilled builder. He had no saws or hammers. He had a good, very sharp tomahawk, which he used for both of those purposes, although we've now supplied him with a hammer and a saw. What he's holding in a hand is a block plane that he had made himself so that he could smooth off rough sawn timber, and it was something that he could be very, very proud of. There was some good-natured rivalry between the 2 teams that went on during the program, which built up enthusiasm with the locals, and we had lots of people helping. As a result, we completed the project in 4 days instead of 6. So on the Friday, we put together a new lot of walls, prefabricated them, and did some cleaning up while the majority went off and played with the children. You saw them playing tunnel ball there with the children. Then on the Sunday, we completed another set of walls and put in the base for 2 more tanks, so that we more than completed what needed to be done. Each latrine costs $150 for the materials and the support that ADRA gives. And so the people have to undertake that, if possible, they will pay $15 towards the latrine. It's not essential. And they have to sign a contract that they are going to dig the hole for the latrine, they're going to provide at least one member of the family to participate in the construction, and they're responsible for completing it, for putting tiles on the floor, the door on, and also landscaping around it. So they undertake to do all of that to complete the project. Our main contribution was the seed funding, which enabled ADRA to begin it, to draw attention to the project in the community, and really build up enthusiasm and understanding about the benefits of health and hygiene in the community. And we believe we in fact achieved our aims. We were there to demonstrate Christ's love and our good wishes to each one of them. While we only had 4 latrines to put in, there were a lot of people sitting on the fence, not signing the contract but not making up their mind. But by the 3rd day, we noticed people walking up quietly to the director and talking to him, and they were very enthusiastic about being involved, so we can ensure the ongoing success of this project.
Well, I was working with the children's team, and we had a fabulous team there with us. What I liked about going on these mission projects is you don't know what you're going to be asked to do, but nobody says, I can't do it. They just do it to greater or lesser extent, like some of us singing. The second Sabbath that we were there, we didn't go out to the village because it is an ADRA project, but we went to the local church, which is an Adventist church. And you people are about 4 or 5 hours ahead of us. So straight after breakfast, Leanne showed us a photo that you had taken here in the church where you all made hearts with your hands, which was very nice to know that we're not forgotten. You're thinking about us as we were thinking about you. When we left for the church, it wasn't very far from our hotel, but it's only a little home church. So as you can see there, that's the pastor and his wife and their family, with Ryan and Karen and their family. The wife cannot speak any English. The husband can speak a little bit or understand it anyway. But they have opened their home up, and they just meet in one part of the home, we think. We're not quite sure. We didn't get all of the story. But they meet there, and they all sit on the floor. They did have some chairs, and we got all the chairs. But they sat there and enjoyed the service with us. Now, when you send things over, some of you say, I can't go. No, that's all right. Not everybody can go. But we're all part of it together because you sent over a lot of those toys, and let me tell you, they were gratefully received. If you could have seen the faces. You saw the lady there that just was playing with the Buzzy Bee. She'd taken it off a child because she'd never had the opportunity, and she was so intrigued with it that she dragged that little Buzzy Bee all the way around. We say they're toys or things that we've had that we no longer use. Now, someone in the church had a set of Bible story felts, which they no longer used, so we took them over, and we felt impressed that this was the place where we should leave them. So Stephen was taking the service that week, so we demonstrated with a story how to use the felts. Then after church, we said to them, look, this is how you keep them, this is how they all go together. And the pastor's wife, she just smiled because we could see from her eyes, her expression, that she understood what they were for, she knew how to use them, she'd never had anything like this. And after we said, now we're leaving them with you, she just burst into tears because she couldn't say anything. Well, she could say something, but we couldn't understand it. And it's quite moving to realise that the little things that we do here, we're all part of this project. Whether you go or whether you support, you're still part of the project, and God's there to bless it. It's His work, and it was greatly appreciated.
As a family, we've been talking for a while now about pushing the pause button on our busy lives with a specific focus on seeing the reality of what life is like for over 70% of the world's population. Now, it's often said that you don't know what you don't know, and we kind of got the feeling that the kids would never entirely understand just how lucky they are to be growing up as privileged Kiwi kids unless they see any other reality. We've also been looking for service opportunities that the whole family can be involved in. But in the overly PC health and safety environments at home, there were almost no organised service opportunities that we could plug into. And so we see this opportunity in Cambodia as a way to fulfil both of these family goals. We really enjoyed our experience on the Papsda on a mission trip and feel really grateful that we had the opportunity to be involved with a team from home before moving on to serve in other areas of Cambodia.
I'm the youngest one here in our team, and I didn't think I'd be much help here, but it turns out I'm really useful for digging toilet holes perfect size.
There's no denying that as a family we are living life differently here in Cambodia, and we are certainly being exposed to the stark contrast of our Kiwi lifestyle. And so we hope that by walking alongside the people of Cambodia that we'll be able to develop a deeper awareness of the great needs in our world and to learn how God can work through us to make a difference both here in Cambodia and back home in our everyday lives.
Hey Papsda family! We're here at Wat Phra Su in Cambodia. It's really hot today and we're all sweaty, but we're all loving it. Thank you for watching our video. That's just a little snippet of what we've been doing here, but hope to send you more.
It's nice to know that you guys care for us in all your prayers. We're really thankful for that. Thanks so much.
We miss you all.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.
Well, we really miss them as well. One of the neat things about being on a mission trip like this is you get so many deeper relationships with the people you go on the trip with. And Kieran and I have been keeping in contact via Facebook Messenger, so if you want to keep in contact with them, it's a great way to do so. It's free, and I'm sure they'd love to hear from us as well. Well, whenever you go on a mission trip, like the one that we just went on, there are so many things that the Lord does before the mission trip, during the mission trip, as well as after the mission trip. And quite often, people come up to you and they say, "How was your trip?" And for me, they either get one of two answers. They get the short version, which is, "It was fantastic," or they get the hour-long explanation of everything that God did on the trip. But today, I just wanted to share 3 things that really impacted me or challenged me on the trip. So one of the things that stands out when you go into a village like the one that we worked in was just the extreme poverty and the contrast between what our lives look like here in New Zealand and what their lives look like. Yet as you go through the week and you get to know the beautiful people, you realize that although they're very poor in a material way, they're very rich in some other ways. They have a deep sense of value for the things that they have. Their chickens were their livelihood, so they were very valuable to them. Their bikes, they needed in case they needed to get medical help. They would ride the bikes to the doctor. And even things as small as a hair tie has a value because the people can't just go to the store and buy some more. I had the privilege of working on the assessment team while in Cambodia, and we would work with 2 separate groups throughout the days. And one of the questions that we asked them is, what is your greatest needs? And between the 2 groups, so maybe 40 or 50 people in total, all of them came up with only 5 things: a bike, animals, water, preschool, or toilets. And as I was doing this assessment, I thought, I wonder if we were to get 50 New Zealanders together and ask us what our greatest needs are, how long that list would be. But the question I've been challenged with upon returning to New Zealand is, do I value the things that the Lord has given me? And I think that when we value the things that the Lord has given us, we have a thankful heart. The second thing that challenged me or impacted me while I was gone was that the people in the village had a very strong sense of community. Their days were not filled with how much they could achieve in the day. They had to work very hard to survive and to provide for their family. Yet every day, as Jeremy mentioned, they had this rest for 2 hours. And this time was often filled with them hanging out underneath each other's houses in a hammock, talking, laughing, or eating together. In New Zealand, we have so many things that save us time. We have dishwashers, we have washing machines, we have computers, we have phones. But sometimes rather than saving us time, they do make us more productive, and they do make us more busy, and sometimes they do provide more distractions as well. And many of us may not even know our neighbors. So I really appreciated just the slower pace of life, and I appreciated seeing how these people really poured into each other and into their community and did life together. While I was there, I was reading through Ecclesiastes, and Ecclesiastes 4:6 says, "Better one hand with tranquility than two with toil and chasing after the wind." And so my question in being back is, am I rich in relationship? Do I take the times out during the day to really pour into the people who the Lord has entrusted to me? And the third thing that challenged me while we were in Cambodia is a verse in Ezekiel. It's Ezekiel 22:30, and it says, "So I sought a man among them who would make a wall and stand in the gap before me on behalf of the land." And while there, this verse continually came up over and over again throughout the week. And at one stage during the week, I came across some statistics. And in Cambodia, 96% of the people are Buddhist, 2% are Hindu, and 2% are other. And when I read those, I thought, where are the Christians? And I felt like God was saying, will you stand in the gap for these people? Will you pray for them? So upon leaving Cambodia, my ministry has not ended because I feel like God has called me to continue praying for the people of Cambodia. On my phone is a picture, which is now my screensaver. And every time I pick up my phone, I see this photo, and it reminds me to pray for Cambodia. Just praying for an outpouring of the Holy Spirit upon the people. Praying for the Christians because they desperately need our prayers. And praying for life and health and water and freedom. And hopefully one day soon, I'll get to go back. Thank you.
It's early evening in Cambodia. After spending the day at the village, we're back at the hotel now and have cleaned up and having some time out before dinner. I'm walking in a beautiful courtyard outside the hotel, listening to my music and soaking up life. I pause and look out at the river through the metal bars of the fence surrounding this hotel. The water river is brown and rubbish floats along the river and layers the banks. As my gaze wanders along the riverbank, I notice some rundown shacks. Small dirt paths lead from these houses down to the river where frail stick structures are being used for fishing or washing in the river. As I consider what life might be like for the people living there, a realization came over me. I have always felt a strong desire to get involved with aid and development work overseas. But as I stood there, the fenced and beautiful courtyard suddenly symbolized my life. I felt God prompting me to consider, why am I struggling to go beyond the safety fences and comforts within my life to a place over the river where I believe He wants to use me as His hands and feet? I was born in a country of overwhelming freedom, while at that very same time, Cambodia was being ravaged by war. Men, women, and children treated in unthinkable ways. For millions, this ended in death. I will remember for the rest of my life standing in front of a particular tree in the killing fields and listening to the horrendous things that were done to women and children right there in that very spot. Today, nearly everyone you meet either lived through this time or have been impacted by this time and are trying their very best to pick up the pieces, but life is not even remotely easy. Women in the village shared with us how they had lost so many of their children before they even turned the age of 5. Men reluctantly shared their frustrations and anger about the fact that they can't even provide enough food or meet their family's basic necessities. My heart breaks for the trials that they go through every day just to survive. So why am I still standing in the courtyard, in my comfort zone, in the known, just looking through the fence at a cause or a place that I know my God is calling me to serve? What is holding me here? Perhaps money. Since going to Cambodia, I realised how easily I've been caught up in consumerism. Decorating my house, saving for a nicer car, buying new clothes or keeping up with the latest technology, dining out with friends. Or perhaps it's my career. I love a challenge at work, and I always look for those career advancement opportunities. Even since getting back from Cambodia, a great career opportunity has been offered to me, but one that will keep me in New Zealand climbing the career ladder. Or perhaps I'm still here because I'm scared. What would it be like living so far away from family and friends? It's just me, and not only am I an introvert, but before this trip, I'd never travelled outside of Australia and New Zealand. So it's a really scary idea, leaving everything and everyone you know. But as I spent time with people in Cambodia, as I saw their hunger and their thirst, I heard their frustrations and their hurt, and their desperate longing for a better life, something in me changed. The things in my life that seemed so important before this trip paled into insignificance. I heard God ask in that moment, Sherelle, now are you willing to step out of your comfort zone, out of the known, and go wherever I send you? Are you willing to serve others generously and to show them my love? And now I know there's nothing I want more. To be honest, I don't really know what that means for the future. But since coming back, I've started to put in place things that will help me prepare for change, such as changing the way that I spend my money and saving for the future. And also, I've enrolled part-time at Massey University in some postgrad development study papers. While there's still a number of things that I'm unsure of, I now know that there are two things that I'm certain of. God is in control, and I want to be his hands and feet, wherever that may take me.
As you've seen, there are lots and lots of amazing things that happen in Cambodia. We had a really awesome team, and I was incredibly grateful for the wonderful team that we did have. There are so many things to see, there's so many things to learn, and there's so many questions that come from when you have an experience like this. And I'm just pleased that you've had the opportunity to hear a little bit about it today. As you can see, the kids, look from the photos when the kids had the toys, they are incredibly happy kids. And so are the adults, for that matter. I've had a couple of people ask me since I got home, since these kids look so happy, are we not better to just leave them as they are and leave them to get on with life? Are we trying to turn them into something that they're not? And you know, it's a really valid question, and I think it's one that does deserve an answer. These people have so little, and they have been through so much. Their houses are mostly made from sticks and thatch. I walked into one house and I was pretty convinced they had a pretty good chance of going right through that floor. They're gentle and they are smiling people. They have chosen to be happy. Everyone here who's older than 34 has witnessed the atrocities of the genocide of the 1970s, carried out by the dictator leader of their own country, where Cambodians were forced to kill a third of their own countrymen. They choose to be happy, there is no question, but life is incredibly hard. There's a wet season and a dry season, and when it's wet, the ground is flooded between ankle deep and knee deep water the whole time. When it's the dry season, there is no means of earning an income. I met Mao. Mao is the mother of 15 children, and she lives in this tiny little house with her 18-month-old toddler. When we were there, her husband and her 3 children were camping about 10 kilometres away, trying to catch some fish that they would bring home and dry and store to supplement their diet of rice and rice. So that was one child with her, 3 with him. Their 3 older children were in Thailand working illegally, hoping to make some money that they could bring home to supplement the family income. That accounts for 7 children. The other 8 were all dead. They had all died between the ages of 3 months and 3 years, all from diarrhea and sick stomachs, all due to contaminated water and a simple lack of basic sanitation that we take so for granted. Mao told me how she'd love to have her family together and how she would love to have them all well. She spoke so fondly of each child. They weren't just statistics to her. And then she showed me where she'd put a latrine if she had one. You know, if any of us lived like Mao, I think we would be a blithering mess. But Mao chooses to be happy, and she sees hope now that Adra is working in her village. And then I met Pan Mai. She's 12, and she is so tiny. She was the one that escorted us past the dogs so that we could go and use the functional latrine in the village. We communicated with charades, and we still managed to learn a little bit about each other despite our lack of language. When I did finally get to talk to her through the aid of a translator, she told me that her biggest dream in life is to be an employee. Now, I had expected that she would say something like, oh, I'd love to be a nurse or a doctor or a teacher. But no, Pan Mai can't think of anything better than someone giving her a pay packet at the end of the week, because that means that she won't, when she's 15, she won't have to go and work illegally across the border in neighbouring Thailand and then try and smuggle cash back to help feed her family. Or she won't have to go and work clearing landmines in abandoned fields, like some of her village friends are doing who are just a year or 2 older than her. Pan Mai is youthfully optimistic. And then one day, while the kids were playing a game of duck, duck, goose and having so much fun, a little boy of about 10 got tagged and he had to run around the circle. Now, this kid had no elastic in his pants, and that may have been okay, apart from the fact that the only place his pants were joined was here and here. All the stitching was gone everywhere else. And so as he ran, and yes, he was commando, there was nothing left to the imagination. You know, something snapped inside me at that moment. I tried to rationalise it away, but look, he's okay. This is rural Cambodia. This kid's having fun. He's laughing. But, you know, it wasn't okay. He wasn't okay, and I wasn't okay. I had to walk away, and I had to sort out my tears before I could come back. This kid didn't have any option, so he chose to get on with it, and admirably he did. But I thought about our boys here at Papsda as I was standing there in that little Cambodian village. I thought about my nephews, and I thought, I have no doubt that this kid knows that there is something better out there, and he wants it. And I really, really wanted it for him. In New Zealand, even kids that go to a Decile 1 school, classified by the government as the poorest socioeconomic families in the country, are insanely rich compared to most people in Cambodia, and certainly anyone that we saw in this village. I had packed quite light and taken one mid-sized suitcase with me. I had more things in my suitcase than those whole families had in their house, by a long way. I want to read to you what I wrote in my photo journal after we finished on our very last day at the village. The people here, they have so little in a material sense, but they couldn't be more grateful for what we've given and more generous with what they have. At home, we plan what school we'll send our child to on their 5th birthday. Here parents think, will my child still be alive when my child gets to their 5th birthday. We wonder how we'll pay the mortgage. Here they think, how will I feed my child when this rice runs out? We think, darn, my kid is sick and grizzly. They think, will my child survive this bout of diarrhea? How best to help is a challenging question, and one that doesn't have quick or easy answers, but one thing is certain: these people are just like us. Only we were born here, and they were born into this war-damaged, dictator-oppressed country of Cambodia. They work hard, they are peace-loving, they are intelligent, and they laugh easily. They love their kids, and they will do whatever it takes to give them a bright future. Another thing that is certain is we can't fix all the inequalities in this world, but we can make a difference for some. We can love them, and in return they teach us to value what really matters. To have less and to love more. To take ourselves and our stuff less seriously. We encouraged and maybe even inspired them in our last week here, simply by the fact that we cared enough to come to their village and help out with a few things. But in return, we're leaving with hearts just a little bit broken and a desperate desire to do more and to be more. I won't ever be the same, and I don't want to be. This morning, I want to share a few thoughts with you, because I really hope that every single one of us shares in this calling that God has placed on our lives as his followers. Throughout the Old Testament, God is continually reminding his people that he is not interested in their churchiness, for want of a better word. He wasn't interested in how many animals they sacrificed. He wasn't interested in how long their prayers were, and he wasn't even interested in how much of the Torah they could recite. What God was interested in was changing what was written on their hearts. As Jeremy said, each evening on our trip, we had a little worship time to reflect and to debrief a bit on what had happened during the day. And one evening we read from Jeremiah 31 to 33, and this is what it says. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel and with the people of Judah. It will not be like the covenant I made with their ancestors when I took them by the hand to lead them out of Egypt, because they broke that covenant, though I was a loving husband to them, declares the Lord. This is the covenant that I will make with the people of Israel after that time, declares the Lord. I will put my law in their minds, and I will write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. You know, the whole purpose of life is that God will change our selfish hearts and conform our thinking to the way that God thinks. Like the verse says, that he'll write his law of love on our hearts. Without a doubt, it's really going to look different for each one of us. There's no question about that. But ultimately, it means developing some compassion and some kindness for people who are doing it just a little bit hard. In the New Testament, it's described this way: pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you. I can tell you that for me, the opportunity to again be with people who live a world away from my world has allowed God to keep working on my heart. I'm not the same person that was here at Papsda a month ago, and I don't want to be. It's my prayer today that every single one of us will be open and willing to let God change our hearts how he knows best. We don't all need to go to Cambodia, but we are all called to be his hands and feet here or wherever we are. Whether it's to the guy next door or the girl on the bus, to our kids, to our spouse, to our parents, to our crazy employer, or to our arrogant neighbour, to the mum in Cambodia, or to the child in Africa. And like we've just read, let's be willing and open to let Him write His law of love on our hearts, and to let our hearts break for the same things that breaks God's heart. I want you to meet one more lady. Her name is Yon. And that's not Yon. This is Yon. Her name is Yon. She's 60 years old and she cares for her 10 grandchildren. Her 3 living children are all away working illegally in Thailand during the dry season. Yon showed me where she'd put a latrine if she and her family can have one. Yon showed me a little basket and I asked her if she would make some for me to take home. I said to her I'd be happy to pay her to make some little baskets, and she quoted me 12 cents per basket. I paid her a little bit more and she was absolutely delighted. Today we want to share these little baskets with you. And I'm going to ask you to come forward and take a little basket if you would like to take one. But there is a catch. By taking a basket, I want you to make a covenant that you will pray for Yon and you will pray for the people of her village. But even more than that, that you will do whatever it is that God places on your heart to care for people like Yon. Now that might be simply to pray, and prayer is powerful. It might be to support in a financial way. It might be to go to Cambodia. That's up to you and God. So if you've already been praying, or if you were supporting with our toy drive, I'd love you to come forward now. Come and take one of these. We only have 90, so there's probably only one per family, but feel free to walk forward now while I'm talking or while we continue singing. As I was talking to Yon, I was about to leave, and I'd asked her a lot of questions. We'd been talking for a while. This was my 3rd visit to her house, and I was preparing to leave. And Yon took my hand. She looked deeply into my eyes, and she spoke. And of course, I had to wait for the translator to tell me what she'd said. And I went away and I actually wrote this down. She said to me, "This is like a dream. I cannot believe that you are sitting here in my house. I can tell that you love me, and I think God sent you to my village." Now, what you've got to understand, as I teared up at this point, Yon doesn't believe in God. Yon is a Buddhist, and Buddhists don't believe in God, yet somehow Yon knew that God had sent our Papsda team to her village, and here I was sitting in her house. Yon reached over and she wiped the tear away from my cheek, and she said to me, "Don't cry, God will bring you back again." I don't know exactly what the future's going to look like, but I do believe that God cares desperately about these people. I know we can't fix all the problems in this world, but I believe that we can make a difference for some. So if you're keen to pray or to do whatever it is that God prompts you to do, come forward, take one of these little baskets and take it and put it somewhere where it will remind you of these people. Let's keep singing. Feel free to come forward and get a little basket. Moving forward, we're in discussion with ADRA just about how we best can serve this little village, and we'll keep you updated over the next few months what that might look like. We do serve a great God and a powerful and incredible God, and I don't know what this will look like, but I think we're incredibly blessed to potentially be a part of this journey. As far as Komalela in Africa and Invader, the anti-sex trafficking organisation that we've been connected with here at Papsda, they're definitely very much still on the radar, and you'll hear a little bit more about those over the next few months. And as you leave today, we've got a little card for you. There's a little card for everybody. We'd like you to take one of these, put it on your fridge, on your desk, on the dashboard of your car, in your Bible, wherever you'll see it often, and be reminded of Yon and Panmai and Mao and the people in this little village, and that God has reminded each one of us to be his hands and his feet here in this world, whether that's in Cambodia or Africa or that's right here in our own house. Let's pray. Dear Lord, sometimes we think our lives can be a little bit tough, and it's a good reality check to be reminded and to see how other people live. We know that when you lived here on this earth, you worked mainly one-on-one, loving people and meeting their needs and making their lives better. And today, Lord, we want to be your hands and feet, whether that's here at home or somewhere a long way away. Lord, please change our hearts to be like yours so that our hearts break for the very same thing as yours. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Come forward, there's still a few more baskets. Take your little card home, and there's some more photos now if you want to see some more.